Welcome to the No Sugarcoating Podcast. I am Amber Romaniuk, emotional eating, digestive, and hormone expert. I am also the founder of amberapproved.ca. I support professional women achieve optimal health through mindful eating, self-care, and overcoming self-sabotage with food. This podcast provides the honest truth on what you really need to create body freedom. The No Sugarcoating Podcast provides information on healthy living, lifestyle changes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. Always seek the advice of your healthcare practitioner regarding your health and nutrition program. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I am super excited. Today is going to be really fun because I have a wonderful guest, Taylor Rae Peters, who's going to be coming on right away. Of course, I wanted to first share what we're talking about this week. So this week is all about intuition, emotions, and vibrational energy, honoring your self-care ritual, and benefits of stepping outside of your comfort zone. So if you're listening to some of these words and going, I don't have any idea what this is, no problem, because Taylor and I are going to break it down for you and help you to understand. And you'll definitely get some great takeaways because this is a beautiful, wonderful self-care podcast. So let me introduce my lovely guest. Taylor Rae is on a mission to help babes everywhere to step into their power, call on their biggest desires, and manifest the abundant lives they are so worthy of. She is a speaker, a coach, the host of the Strong Babe Collective podcast, an online course creator, and a spiritual mentor and high vibe bestie to thousands of women online. She is committed to helping babes up-level into the highest versions of themselves so that they can call in the freedom, impact, and abundance she knows is waiting for them. Blending the woo with the work and the action with the alignment, Taylor is dedicated to helping high-vibe babes everywhere to shine their authentic light, to take inspired action, and to connect with their intuition so they can call in their biggest desires from a place of flow, freedom, and ease. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast. Amber Approved offers private coaching for hormonal imbalances, weight loss and digestive issues, emotional eating, and more. Contact Amber at amberapproved.ca to book your 30-minute complimentary consultation today. Welcome, Taylor. I am so grateful to have you all the way on the other side of the world, down under in Australia. Thank you for being on the show today.
My pleasure, darling. I'm so excited to be here and to continue all the high vibes from our interview.
Yes, it was so fun. And I will definitely make sure to link our interview on your podcast in the show notes. So what I would love for you to share first is, what's Taylor's journey been like? Did you always know you had an intuition? Did you always have this connection, and this confidence and empowered? Like, you just bring such an amazing energy. And so I just want to hear more about you and what, brought you to where you are with your business and Strong Babe Collective podcast. So why don't you share that first?
Yes, of course. That's honestly, I love telling this story because I feel like for a lot of people, when you hear this, it's like, I think a lot of the time when you sort of see someone and you see like, if they've got a business or they've got a platform or something, it can be very easy to be like, oh, has it always been like that? Or has it always been that easy? Or have you always been that high vibe? And I love to share this story because I think it's so important to me to be very transparent and very honest about sort of what the journey's been like. And I think there's a lot of power in that because it helps other people to go, okay, cool. Well, she sort of has been at like rock bottom before and she's come out of there. So like, I can do that as well. So yeah, for me, honestly, like, I've always been someone that's had very high energy. Like, I've always been that sort of person. But in terms of, listening to my intuition, in terms of understanding the laws of the universe, in terms of understanding my own power and my control over my energy and my ability to create literally anything that I desire, that is definitely not something that was always a thing for me. It's not like I grew up and this was just kind of passed down, like not at all. Like, I didn't come from like a spiritual background. I didn't come from a religious background, like nothing at all. And to be honest, I was pretty much the opposite. Like, I was someone that was very, very, very in my masculine energy. I came from a very business-based background, did like business at uni and then went into the corporate world. And I basically had the mentality that I needed to like hustle and grind and be like team no sleep in order to get anywhere that I wanted to get in terms of success and having an impact and living in an abundant life, like all those sorts of things. And to keep the story, like long story short and not go for hours telling it. Basically what happened is I had a business prior to the business that I have now in a different field altogether. And in a nutshell, basically like I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed myself so far that I hit burnout in my life at literally 25, like just hit this point where I had just pushed and I ignored all the signs that were coming up for me along the way. Like literally just was like, no, push it aside, keep going, keep going, keep going. I ended up in hospital. I had like a full-on breakdown. Like physically my body gave out. Mentally, I just wasn't coping. I started to really suffer a lot from anxiety, and yeah, honestly, like it wasn't like the prettiest time ever. And I remember it being very, very difficult, but it's something that I look back on with so much gratitude because it was going through all of that, like literally like crying myself to sleep at night. Like my business basically went under. I was broke, like mentally I was just broken. And so I was kind of like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like I've been building this for the better part of 2 years. Like if it's not this, what is it? Like what's my purpose if I lose this? And also side note, I am an Enneagram 3. If any of your listeners or you have done that test, and that personality type is the achiever. So I have to be very careful that I don't necessarily like basically as an achiever, you can be someone that thinks that like you quantify and your worth in the world is what you create. And so with that taken away from me, I was like, well, shit, like I'm not worth anything. Like that's basically was my belief. And so that was what brought about a lot of anxiety. But it was in going through that. I remember literally I was just walking down my hallway one day and I stopped in my tracks. Like literally it was like someone just in front of me just said to me like, stop thinking about why this is happening to you and start realizing this is happening for you. And I still get goosebumps whenever I say that because I just remember it was like the first time that I ever was like, holy shit, like what is this voice? And now I know like that was my intuition. It was like, okay, time to listen, like it's enough. And in that moment I was like, okay, enough. Like, and I just started to look at like, okay, this is happening for a reason. This is obviously not the path that I'm meant to be on. I'm meant to be doing something different. What is that? And then that journey sort of took its own beautiful path, and that sort of opened me up. Things started to fall in my lap after that, like about manifesting, about the universal laws, how to, manipulate energy, all those sorts of things. And I just started to consume as much as I could, and I would apply it all to my life. And in 6 months, I had like changed my entire life, like literally flipped it on its head. And so I just started talking about it and started telling people about it. And that was how the Strong Babe Collective movement basically started, which was literally an Instagram that became a podcast that then branched into courses. Awesome. And yeah, that's literally how it all sort of happened, I guess.
That is amazing. And you know what, sometimes it does take us hitting rock bottom to completely kind of surrender and shift. And then it's like, again, things just effortlessly fall into your lap because you let go of the resistance and the fear and the worry because you're like, okay, I'm here. Right. And it just, it's like so many doors open up when we let go of things that weren't meant to be. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. When we stop forcing and when we come into that place of surrender, like, okay, I'm just open to receiving, like, and again, like that sentence honestly changed my life. Like everything is happening for you, not to you. It just helped me to realize so much that even in the moments that feel like the worst thing ever, it's not. Like it's happening for a reason, and it helps you to really see the positive in it. Like it can still be a difficult situation, but you can still look at it like, okay, whether I realize the lesson right now or not, I know that there's a reason that this is happening. And you start to trust a lot more. And when you trust a lot more, you stop forcing. And when you stop forcing, you allow things to flow to you a lot like easier. And that's just honestly what happened is everything got to be easier. Like, especially for someone who didn't believe it was easy and had the weight of the world on her shoulders for so long, it's like that weight lifted and I could breathe again. And it just allowed everything to flow a lot better.
That's amazing. And thank you for sharing that. So, and I so can relate to you. And I also know that there may be people listening right now that are all of a sudden feeling resistance, like, well, what do you mean just surrender and trust? Like, what does that even mean? And how do you even start to do that? Especially say for someone who's struggling with their weight and emotional eating, and perhaps their like business is tanking, or again, like I know for me, I witness a lot of females in health and wellness, and they almost feel this fraud guilt syndrome because they're trying to like have this business and they have no work-life balance. They're unwell. They're not happy with their bodies. They're self-sabotaging, yet they're trying to like have this health-based business. So it's like, how do you, learn how to surrender and trust more if you are feeling like you're struggling and there's all these things that aren't going your way?
Yeah, I think that that's such a good question, and it's so important because I feel like a lot of people, especially and the business that I had prior to this was in health and fitness. Like I'm a certified personal trainer, like prior to this, so it was a boot camp based business. So I really feel your girls who are listening and maybe feel like that, because that was me. Like I ran a full-time boot camp business. I was running like 30 to 40 classes a week on my own. I was also obviously doing all the back end things that come with a business, dealing with payment things, setting up, all the things that you've got to do that come with a business. And then I was like, oh, why not? Let's just branch online. Like, this will be fun. Like, just literally throw that into the mix. So I was kind of doing everything and trying to put on this picture of health and wellness, and as well was like, maybe I should just compete in a powerlifting comp. Like, that's a good idea. At the same time as going through all this. So you can understand why I literally burnt out, because I was just trying all the things. And I really understand the pressure that can come with it, because you are health and wellness. Like, if that's what your business is, you want to be this face of health and wellness while also doing all the things, which can ultimately take a massive toll, which, first to say that that's obviously what happened to me. Yeah. And I had to kind of like, eat humble pie in that sense. Like, I've had to put on such a brave face for so long. My clients knew that I was crumbling. I was very close to a lot of my girls. I'd been with them for ages, like years. And those that I'd been with for a really long time, they could see it. I remember once I rocked up to a boot camp and was like getting everything out of the car, like pulling it all out of the car, and was like, okay, here we go, girls, like trying to be my normal high vibe self. And I just started crying, like literally just started crying, like had a full breakdown. My girls like, oh my God, like, are you all right? Like, and they packed my stuff back into my car and said, go home and have a sleep. Like, you are so tired. Like, this is ridiculous. We can do without a 45-minute class. Go and look after yourself. Like, stop trying to be everything for everyone else and realize you need to look after yourself. Like, these are my clients telling me that. And normally that would be my job. So I really understand the pressure that can come with that. But I think what you need to realize is like, almost exactly what my girl said, like, you need to look after you, because if you're not looking after you, how can you show up for those that need you? Like, this is something I talk to a lot about my clients about now, is that like your most important relationship is between you and you. And if you're not honoring that, if you're not looking after that, you can't expect to show up as the best version of you for every single person that's counting on you. Yeah. And so you really need to honor that, because it's a disservice to them and to you if you're not looking after that. And so that's where that element of surrender comes in. And deep down, like deep down, if you're putting on a facade and you're trying to put on a brave face and you're worried about taking a break or taking a step back or prioritizing yourself because what will people think, or maybe my business won't do well, or XYZ, like any sort of reason that comes up. But what you got to realize is all those justifications for why you shouldn't be looking after yourself is coming from a place of ego and a place of fear. Yes. And it's up to you to let go of that and actually release it, so that you can come into alignment, so that you can do the things that you need to do, so that you show up as that next level version of you, which is going to be better for everyone. But that takes being honest with yourself. And that, like, in your gut, like that gut feeling, like that is your intuition. So start to listen to that and realize, like, okay, it's coming up for a reason. Be honest with yourself, and then honor what it is that you're feeling called to. Maybe it's taking a break. Maybe it's taking a step back. Maybe it's letting go of, one too many services that you kind of overextended yourself into offering. Like, you've got to be honest with yourself and then take those steps and recognize that when you do that, you are going to shift your vibrational level. You're going to raise your vibrational level, and you're going to come into alignment more with what it is that you want, which ultimately will allow it to flow even better. I've seen this time and time for myself and my clients. Like, when you allow it to be easier, it flows easier. Like, when you literally look after yourself, people want to buy more. They want to work with you more. Like, it's incredible how it always happens. But it's honestly like, when you start to look after yourself, like, you'll realize like things are easier than you're choosing to make them.
100%. And I love that you talk about that. Like, you become a magnet, and you also manifest and or attract things more easily, whether it's abundance, more success in your business, a promotion in your career, a loving relationship that's in alignment, like, whatever it is, it's so much easier when we're trusting and surrendering versus forcing, trying to control, right? We're exhausted. Then you end up attracting all sorts of things that just are not in alignment. So you mentioned vibration and what vibration you may be in and how that may dictate what you're manifesting. So for my listeners, some of you may know what she's talking about and some may not. So I just wanted you to share with me a little bit more about what vibration is when it comes to the body and our energy.
Yeah, no, such a good question. And I often just like fly off the radar. Like,
good.
And then people are like, wait, can you just define that? Like, what are we talking about? And basically, in a nutshell, what we want to understand is that everything is energy. Like, absolutely everything is energy, and everything is vibrating at a particular frequency. So there's like the high vibrational things and there's the low vibrational things. And when I'm talking about raising your vibration and raising your vibrational level, basically where we are vibrating, it plays into effect with your emotions. So like a low vibrational level would be like anger, sadness, guilt, jealousy, all those sorts of things. It's a really low vibrational frequency. But then when we raise our vibration, we come into those beautiful states of like bliss, ease, flow, happiness, joy, love. Like love is like right up there, like that beautiful space. And we all know those two feelings. Like, you know how different you feel when you're operating in that beautiful state of bliss, love, joy, as opposed to that state of fear, sadness, guilt. Like, they're all very, very low vibe sort of places to be. And so basically when you raise your vibration, the things that you want, like, they're all operating at a very high vibrational level. So when we raise our vibes to be more in that beautiful, blissful state, and there's so many ways that we can do this, and I can chat about that if you want, but that's how you call in what it is that you want. Like, you manifest it faster because you become a vibrational match for it, because like energy attracts like energy. So the energy that you put out is the energy that you attract. So, you know, if we're talking about abundance, you know, financial abundance, manifesting money, essentially, you know, you need to be a vibrational match for that abundance. So you don't want to be coming from a place of, oh my gosh, I wish I had more money. I wish I didn't have so much debt, because what we're focusing on is debt, is we're focusing on lack. We're focusing on scarcity. So if we're calling in money, then what we want to do is sit in the energy of like, I've already got money. I'm already so abundant. I'm so grateful for all the ways that money flows to me. This is just one example, but you want to become a vibrational match for it. So basically you feel into the energy of the thing that you ultimately desire, like what it is that you are calling in, and you become a vibrational match by basically become it, because we manifest what we are. I see it so much where people are like, oh, I want this thing, or I wish for this thing. And it's like, you want or wish, like you're affirming that you don't have it. So you need to step into it as though it's already yours. You need to feel into it, because you're going to manifest more of what you are. So feel into that energy first.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And that's an amazing explanation. And so for people who are recognizing, wow, yeah, when I'm in that low vibration, I'm feeling the frustration, anger, jealousy, sadness, and I feel tired. And then I notice when I'm happy and I'm feeling the joy, like you do feel like physically more energy. You feel lighter. It's like, you know, when people say they walk into a room and they can feel the energy of the room, if it's like a good vibe energy, or all of a sudden, if it's like the energy just drained out of me because it's like so negative in here, like all of that is part of as well your intuition and like feeling. And so if you're kind of going, do I have an intuition? I don't know if I have an intuition. I really believe we all do. And I'm sure you can agree with me, and the energy and the vibration is part of that. And the more in tune you become, the easier that gets. So how do you, or what are some of your easy recommendations for raising vibration to help manifest what you want, whether it's abundance, health, love?
Yeah, definitely. And I will just add, I think that's a really good point that you said about obviously like your intuition, like everybody's got it. Like hear us when we say this, like everybody has an intuition. Everybody's got that inner voice. So I know if you're listening to this right now and you're like, yeah, not me. Like, I just don't have that. It's like, yes, you do. Like, I used to be that person too. Like, yes, I understand, but I promise you it is there, and you will have felt it at some point in your life. It would have come up at some point, and maybe your mom said to you like, oh, you know, listen to your gut. And it's like, no, that's it. Like that's that right there. And it's something, I've recently read a book that's phenomenal. It's called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And it's not religious based at all. It's such a phenomenal book. But what they talk about is the sponsoring thought. And that first thought that comes up for you, it's either going to be from a place of like fear or a place of love. But what we need to realize, we need to start listening to that sponsoring thought a lot more. When that first thought comes up for you, a lot of the time it is the answer that you want, but then straight away ego comes in and undermines like, oh, that's not it. Like, these are all the reasons that that's probably wrong. But it's like that thing that you first heard, that was your intuition. So I just want to add that in, because I think that a lot of the time people go, oh, that sounds really nice to like listen to your intuition, but how the heck do you even find it? And it's like, no, you've got it. You've just not been listening for a really long time. And this comes from, you know, we live in a society that is very externally validated. And so we're always turning to other people. What do you think? What do you think I should do? What's your suggestion? Do you guys like this? Like, where it's like, you know, internally what you actually want, what it is that you want your life to look like, you know, what choices you want to make. But a lot of the time we've squashed that voice down for so long that it just literally gets ignored, and you've literally muted it. So it's just about turning the volume back up. But in terms of raising your vibrations, my answer to that literally is, what do you enjoy? Like, what is fun to you? Because whatever is fun to you, that's what you need to be doing. There's no right or wrong when it comes to how to raise your vibrations. And I teach a course called Desire to Manifest. And inside of it, like literally one of the modules that I teach is all about the importance of prioritizing play, because the course is all about learning how to unlock your manifestation power. And everybody gets in and they go, okay, well, what exactly do I need to do? And it's all about like, you know, there's so many tangible steps, of course, but like, it's more than halfway through the course that they get to this and they all go, oh my gosh, like I didn't even realize that like I wasn't making time for fun. Like I was just trying to do all the things and make sure I was ticking all the boxes. And I'm like, yeah, that's why it's in there. Because as adults as well, you know, it's very easy for us to just go, oh, you know, leave that for later. That's not important. Like, let's just keep, you know, working on the goals, taking the action, doing all the things. And that's all very important, but you need to enjoy the process. Like you literally need to enjoy your life. Like your life is made up of millions and billions of present moments. And in the present moment, are you having fun or are you not? Like, and that's what you need to ask yourself. And if the answer is no, I'm not, it's like, well, where can you start to bring elements of fun back in? Where can you start to actually enjoy your life again? Because like for a lot of us, like we don't even realize we've just not let ourselves enjoy it for a really long time. Like we've just been so focused on where we're going, or maybe focused on what we don't have and, you know, comparing and wishing for things to be different and all these sorts of things. And it's like, no, like how can you bring back in that fun, that joy, that ease? Like, do you like painting? Do you like going for a walk with your dog? Do you like going to the movies? Do you like going to hula classes? Like it doesn't matter, but you've got to find what is fun for you and you've got to bring that back in, because that is going to be the fastest way to raise your vibrational level. Because when you have fun, obviously, like you go from that state of like anger, sadness, all those sorts of things, like whoop, straight up, like to that place of like fun, flow, ease, bliss. This is great. And we all know that feeling because we've all done it. Like, you know, maybe you're inside in an office all day and you're like, oh, this is shit. Like this feels so crap. But then, I don't know, you go for an afternoon jog and you're like, oh, life is so good. Like it feels amazing. And that's literally what it is. And it's just about being conscious of bringing that in more and more in the present moment in as much as possible that you can do.
Beautiful. I love that. And I think, you know, people do get so caught up in their business or their career or like, well, I'm a mother, I have all these responsibilities. Like I don't have time to have fun. And I think, you know, that brings me to the next thing that I really want to explore with you, which is like, you know, how does, you know, making yourself a priority not only support your vibration, but support like building your self-worth and self-love? Because I think, you know, from what I see with my clients and the people that I talk to, there's so many responsibilities, there's so many things that they're dealing with, and therefore they need an outlet like emotional eating or, you know, shopping and spending money or, you know, Netflix binges to suppress and have a break from life because their schedule is so overbooked it makes them want to cry. But the cost is they don't like their body, they don't like their weight, they're struggling with all sorts of like health issues, and then they're in that negative headspace more often than not, and that then affects the vibration and it affects your health. So to just go back to the question, since I've rambled on, you know, why is it important for, you know, people to make their self-care a priority to support vibration and their self-worth and self-love?
Yeah, no, such a good question. And it is something that I focus on a lot with my clients is like literally, I think something that gets like forgotten a lot is people focus so much on being in alignment with what they're calling in and then, you know, being in alignment with their goals are, what they're manifesting, that they forget to be in alignment with themselves. And if you don't have that alignment with yourself first, like how can you expect to step into that next level version of you if you're not in alignment with the version of you that you are right now? Right. You can't, like you actually can't. And you can push and you can try, but you're going to be met with so much resistance, and you might step into that next level in some areas of your life, but you're still going to feel that resistance, or it's still going to feel difficult, or you might go ahead and step into like the promotion or the next level of business success or, you know, something in a relationship, something like that. But there's going to be part of you that doesn't feel like it's in alignment because you came from that place of lack within yourself originally, and you're going to keep carrying that through. And that's where doing the internal work is so important. Like that's where really making the time to get to know who you really are at the root of everything is literally so crucial. Something that was really transformational for me that I did was around mirror work. So again, I was someone that was like, very driven by what I was putting out into the world and what I was achieving without actually looking at like, okay, well, am I happy? Like, what the heck am I doing? Like, who am I? Like, is this really what I want to be doing? And again, like, I understand, like, I can be someone too, like, even now, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's so easy for me to say all this, but please know, like, I'm still on a beautiful journey and I'm always learning and I still have moments of ego. Like, we just went through a big launch for one of our programs, and like, it's very easy to be like, oh, no, I've just got to keep working. I've just got to keep going. And there was a couple of days there where I did definitely do more than I, probably should have been doing. And it was kind of like, okay, well, I really need to like take a break and look after me. And, something as simple as getting outside and going for a bike ride down to the beach and having a coffee by the beach. Like, I was like a new woman, like literally a different person. But again, very easy to slip back into that. Like, I don't need to prioritize me. It's fine. I need to keep going. I need to work towards those goals. It doesn't serve you. Like, it literally doesn't serve you. And it's so funny because, and this is going on a little bit of a tangent, but like, you push and you force and you try and you try and you try, and then you go and do the fun thing and you raise your vibe and you'll have a client sign. Literally happened to me every time that I went and took a break or did something fun. Like, went outside, we went to the driving range and just hit some golf balls. We went down to the beach and had a coffee. Every time I would get a new person enrolled in my course, and it was like, okay, like, all right, like, I surrender, like, sure. And my mantra just literally became like, when I have fun, money flows to me easily. Like, literally, I just kept saying it to myself over and over again. So powerful. But it brings me back to like, you've got to honor yourself. Like, you've got to be doing things that looked after you. And like I said before, like, for me, originally that started with doing things like mirror work and getting honest with myself and looking at myself in the mirror and having that conversation. Because this is the other thing, you don't want to be like running off and doing all the activities, like trying to have fun. But if your relationship with you deep down is like, one of resentment and not appreciating who you are and not loving your body and all those sorts of things, like, there's only so much that you can do to cover that up before it's going to get to be too much. And one of the things that I had to do was that mirror work, especially after coming out of, a breakdown where I just felt basically worthless, was like, I had to look at myself in the mirror in my eyes, like literally look at myself in my eyes, which sounds like nothing, but try it, like literally give it a go. And it's so freaking powerful because I would look at myself in the eyes and go, Taylor, like, I love you. Like, Taylor, you are beautiful. And I bawled my eyes out. Like, it gives me like shivers even to think about it now. And I've done so much work around it and I can easily say it to myself now and mean every single word. But I said it in the beginning and it felt like a lie. Like, I literally would say it and be like, well, that's not even true. Like, but I had to move through that. And it brought a lot of emotions up because you realize, oh my gosh, for so long, I've basically just been neglecting myself and giving my energy to everything and everyone else but me. And you need to heal that relationship first, because that's what's going to bring you into that alignment so that you can step into that next level. And again, that's where things get easier. It's all about allowing it to be easy, but it comes from the internal shifts in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And I think it is so important to do the external work. And I wish it was taught in school to like, this is something so valuable to build self-love and self-worth. And like, it's safe to get uncomfortable. We all have the courage to get uncomfortable and do that inner work to build peace with ourselves, to build our worth and self-love, so that again, we're not fighting with our bodies and, dieting and doing all these extreme things and saying all these negative things to ourselves, which I really think then has a negative impact on our physical state of health, let alone your spiritual health and your mental, emotional health. Because, a lot of the women that I work with, they end up with like hormone imbalances, digestive issues, lots of inflammation, again, the fight with weight. And I was the same. And I had it so ingrained in my brain that like, oh, once I hit this number, like life and everything's going to be perfect. And the irony was when I hit that, I was so miserable and I was picking myself apart even more, and life wasn't perfect. So I think the more we can be open to going inside and doing the inner work, we fill that void that a diet or weight loss cannot fill, or even any amount of money or success, because you see a lot of successful people who are still very unhappy because they're pushing the limit, they're hustling hard, they're overachieving. And that still comes from that insecurity of I'm not enough, so therefore this isn't enough yet. And they keep pushing. But then again, at some point it costs you your health on some level, right? It's not just, you can't just go and expect your body body to keep up. And I know you have had the experience of that, and so have I and many of the listeners. So I'm very appreciative that you've shared what you did, because I think a lot of women who are listening are so going to relate to what you shared in the beginning with your story, and, you know, the importance of honoring yourself. Like, it's safe to be selfish. It's safe to honor yourself. So for the women who are going, well, I really want to take care of myself, but I start to feel guilty. I start to feel the guilt come on. And then I just go and do another load of laundry. I just go and, you know, take care of something for the kids. Like, how can they navigate that guilt that may block them from wanting to honor themselves?
Oh, I love this question. And I love it because I'm first to say that I grew up in, you know, a relationship with my dad, and, you know, growing up as a kid where like guilt was like the predominant, like I grew up like that. Yeah. And like, yeah, I can laugh about it now, but like that was difficult. Like that was really difficult. Again, happened for me, not to me. And so I can see why, you know, I learned so much from that now with where I'm at, but like growing up, that was a very difficult thing. And my mum as well, same relationship with my dad, where like it was all her fault, like very, you know, under the thumb kind of thing. And she, like, honestly, it's still now still associates with that energy of guilt about everything. And, you know, obviously for me, like I made the realization at a point in my life where I was like, oh, it's not for this anymore. Like I definitely need to move through this. But like I carried a lot of that energy with me for a long time until I recognized like, holy shit, I feel guilty about everything. And even my partner, James, when we've been together for 5 years, but when we first got together, he was like, can you stop saying sorry for everything? And I would do it all the time. Like, oh, sorry for this, sorry for that, sorry I'm late, sorry I got in the way, sorry. Like, and it was always like that. What do you want to do? Like, it was never like what I wanted, like not his fault at all. He'd always be like, no, what do you want? Like, but I wouldn't think that I was even worthy of saying that because that's how I grew up. Like my opinion was just invalid. Like, and if, you know, if I wanted something, it was like, well, that's sorry. Like that's got nothing to do with you, like my choice kind of thing. And so that was how I was raised. And, you know, coming out the other side of that, the reason that I love this question is because my answer to it is guilt is a choice. Like, and that's what we all need to realize. This is probably the hardest thing to hear, but like if your life isn't how you want it to be, or you feel sad all the time, or you feel guilty, you've got a guilty conscience all the time, you've chosen that. Like that is literally a choice. And I say that to you whilst, you know, imagining giving you a hug. Like literally I say it with so much love. And I know that it's hard to hear because I had to face it myself. But you have to take ownership of the things that are holding you back, or you will never, ever move through them. It is so important that you take that ownership, because otherwise you are giving your power away. You are giving your power away to other circumstances, to other people. And until you take ownership and go, okay, me feeling guilty is my choice, and I don't choose to feel like that anymore, until you get to that point of taking that ownership, you won't be able to move through it. So I know that this will be reaching the people that need to hear it, and you need to take ownership of the fact that like, okay, I feel guilty right now. Do I choose this? Or does this serve me? Do I want to feel like this? No, I don't. Of course you don't. So make the decision to release it. Like literally make the decision to let go of it. Does it mean that that's going to be easy? No, of course it's still going to feel hard. Of course your immediate reaction is still going to be guilt, especially, you know, if you're 20, 30, 40, 50 and you've gone through life feeling guilty all the time. Of course your immediate reaction is going to be one of guilt, but it's up to you to take ownership of it. And every time that feeling of guilt comes up, you've got to undo it. You've got to go, okay, wait, no. I'm feeling guilty. Why am I feeling like this? Does this serve me? Is there even a reason for it? No. So how can I let it go and how can I replace it? And what I will also say to this, because I've seen this obviously personally in my life, with my mum, with friends, everything, they will affirm it. I'm a guilty person. I'm a guilty person. I just suffer from it. No, you don't. Like you suffer from guilt because you choose it. And saying I am a guilty person, saying, oh, I always feel bad, you are affirming that truth for yourself. And you have to choose to let go of it. So check your language. Like literally change your language. Just brings us back to this whole thing about energy. I teach something called the TFB model. And it's your thoughts become your feelings, become your vibration, which becomes the energy that you put out. So everything starts with your thoughts. And so literally like, don't think like, okay, I need to energetically shift. Like, don't worry about that. Like literally change what you're thinking, change your thought pattern, and that is going to shift everything on a subconscious level, which is going to have the flow-on effect into your energy. But all I want you to worry about and think about is your thoughts. Like be aware of what's going on in there and take control, because a lot of the time, like people aren't even aware of what they're thinking. And it's like, not your thoughts. Like you have the ability as to whether or not you give fuel to them, you give fire to them, or you go, no, not today. So if a thought comes in and it doesn't serve you, it's up to you to go, no, not today, and to actually let it go and to redefine what you're thinking.
Yes. Yes. I love that. And I absolutely love, it's so important for us to take time to become aware of our thoughts and to recognize the thoughts that don't serve us. And then to use our, continual, consistent self-care rituals to help us work through that stuff as well. Like I'm a huge fan of EFT tapping. I'm a huge fan of meditation, journaling. I do body talk on a regular basis. I get energy work because I really feel like, there's certain things that I can deal with on my own, but sometimes then I also need that, support. And that's why I always encourage in my podcast, like if this is resonating and you've been struggling, get support in whatever, from whomever you feel you need it from, because you also never know what you could be hanging on to that's not yours. Or if you believe in past lives from past life, or, whatever that is. And so it's usually not just all our stuff that we're feeling. And that's like a whole other conversation. But I think it's so important to first get into that consistent self-care routine so that you can learn how to connect with yourself and become aware of your thoughts and do something about it. And so what's popping up next is, because I even went through this stint of like, well, okay, I'm having a really great time manifesting everything I want. It's all flowing to me. And then my ego pipes in and goes, oh my God, well, I have to just stay in this high vibration and it can't ever drop, because if it does, then I'm not going to manifest what I want. And so it's all of a sudden there's this all or nothing with I have to stay in the perfect vibration, which isn't realistic because we're human and we're going to have ebbs and flows and ups and downs with our emotions. And that's normal. That's healthy. So for those who are listening who may already have had an experience with this, or maybe going, okay, well, how do I just always be happy? What's the happy medium with, navigating your mood and your vibration to know that it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling, but that there is an opportunity to shift it.
Definitely. I'm massive on this. And it's the thing I get asked about so much. And so I'm really glad that you asked this question, because that pressure is what happens next. So okay, cool. You've gone through and you're like, okay, cool. I'm aware. Now I have, control over my thoughts, and okay, I can manifest, and all right, energy. And then you're like, okay, this is going well. And then the next step is oh shit, well, what if I fall off this high vibe buzz? How am I supposed to navigate that? Oh my gosh, if I'm in a low vibe place, I'm going to call in things that I don't want. Taylor said, you need to be a high vibrational match. Horrible pressure comes in. And I just really want to highlight, you are human, and part of being human is the fact that you have ego. And I don't mean ego like a big head. I mean ego you have the version of you that's in alignment, and you have the egoic mind. So it's your mind that's literally undermining everything that will come up for you and things like that. And so you're going to have limiting beliefs. You're going to have fear. You're going to have ego, and that's fine. And it's about letting go of the pressure that you might be putting on yourself to constantly be in this high vibe state, because basically it's, it's like a paradox kind of, because you're like, okay, I need to be high vibe. So the pressure that you put on yourself to be high vibe makes you low vibe, because then you're worrying and you're stressed and you're concerned about it. And oh my God, now you're suddenly in a low vibe place, and it's how did we get here? And it's no, just take a big deep breath and literally release it. I teach something called the 3 R's. So it's recognize, replace, and release. So basically what I get my girls to do is if you find that you're in a low vibe state, you have the choice as to whether or not, again, you choose to continue in that state, or you go, okay, no, I'm going to use my 3 R's. And in a nutshell, what they are is you recognize it. So you go, okay, well, this is a low vibe feeling. That's cool. It's fine. It's here. It doesn't mean that it necessarily drives my life, but it popped up for a sec. Do I want to stay here, or do I want to shift?
Right.
And then if the answer is, well, I want to shift, you go, okay, great. Well, I've recognized it, so I replace it. Okay. Instead of feeling guilty, what can I shift into? Well, gratitude's a good one. So let's go there. Instead of feeling guilty about something, what can I be grateful for in this moment? Maybe what lesson can I learn from it? If the guilt's around something that you've done, what can you find in what you've done that you can be grateful for? Anything like that. And then release it, because obviously, you've replaced it. So you're like, okay, I don't need to hold on to this anymore. But ego's tricky, and it can be okay, yeah, cool. Well, you feel better, but, and then you go, no, not today. We've replaced it. I don't need to hold on to this. I'm letting go of everything else. I'm going to know the universe has got me. And I literally just let go of everything else. So recognize, replace, release. And I use it all the time. I use it all the time in my life. to just let go of things that don't serve me. And that's the thing. Like, you've got to recognize there's going to be moments and it's fine. And just let it go. Like, it's up to you whether you hold on to it or release it. So
yeah, I agree. And I think the ego, you know, when we've hung on to limiting beliefs for a long time or those negative emotions, it becomes our comfort zone. And there's this part of us that experiences pleasure in this weird way, and we thrive off of being in that space. And I think one thing that a lot of people are scared of is getting uncomfortable, stepping out of that comfort zone, like, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, like, I really want to, but I'm too scared and I don't want to get uncomfortable. So how can, you know, people use like mindset, positive self-talk, and even their self-care rituals to help them just slowly ease out of the comfort zone and step into the discomfort to deal with this stuff?
Yeah, such a good question. It literally brings me back to that book again. It's honestly, I recommend that book so much, Conversations with God. But something that I learned through that book was that, like, basically, like, you know, in this lifetime, having a human experience, like, it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, like, you are having an experience again that you choose. So if you are someone that is, you know, saying, you know, I'm always late, or I'm so highly strung, or I'm someone that just is under so much pressure all the time, like, of course you are, because that's what you chose, and you chose to have that experience. So it's really about taking ownership for that. Like, you know, is that where you want to be, or do you want to shift? And then when it comes to shifting, like you said, then it's like, okay, well, you know, you can say, oh, you know, I always struggle with money, or I'm always so tired, I'm under so much pressure at work. And it's like, yeah, you are, but like, that's kind of what you chose, and that's possible to you, because that's become part of your identity. That's literally how you show up. That's part of your identity to other people. It's part of the story that you tell others. You'll find that it comes up a lot without even necessarily meaning for it to, but it just becomes part of conversations. It's part of your identity. And so that is a comfort zone, even if it feels difficult, because it might not be what you want, but it's become comfortable to you and it's safe to be there. So to shift out of it, this is sometimes one of the biggest things I see is fear of success. People aren't where they want to be, and so they want to step out of it, and they know that they can, and they know that they're capable of it. But then they're fearful of success because they fear of success, because if they then have that success, well, what about all the people around them? What will they think? Will they even be friends with those people anymore? Will they be able to relate to them? Like, all these things that pushes you out of your comfort zone. But what's important to realize is the best version of you is always outside of your comfort zone. Like, if you are not pushing your comfort zones, what are you doing? Like, you need to be pushing up and out of it, because that is where everything is. It's just on the other side of it. Like, literally the best version of you is on the other side of that fear. And fear is all that's keeping you in your comfort zone. So go there, like, literally go there. And what I always encourage is, don't feel like you have to go 0 to 100. Just go 0 to 1. Like 0 to 0.5. Like, take a tiny step. You don't have to have everything planned out. You just need to take that first little piece of action and trust again that the rest is going to fall into place. Step 2 will fall into place for you. Then step 3, 4, and it will just keep happening like that. But the universe isn't going to drop all those steps in front of you if you have resistance around taking the first one. Like, you've got to take that step. So allow it to be easy. Let it be little. Like, just take that first step and bring practices in that help you to figure it out too. So, like, things like meditating, like something that Jay Shetty says, which I just love this so much, at his podcast On Purpose. I heard it in that. He says, you know, you need to have meetings. So, like, not MEETINGS, MEETINGS, meetings. Yes. Where are you scheduling that time into your calendar? Like, if you are just scheduling in for other people, events, teacher meetings, business meetings, meetings with colleagues, meeting with your friends, with your in-laws, you're doing all of that. Where's the time for you? Like, where are your meetings? Like, are you scheduling that into your calendar? Like, do you even have that in there? Because if you don't, take a look, like, and actually set aside that time for you, like, that you are actually allowing some quiet space in your mind to figure out what it is that you actually want, that you actually desire. What do you actually want your life to look like? And you're not going to figure that out if you are constantly packed in with other things going on. So you've got to schedule that time for you. So maybe it's literally sitting with a cup of tea while the sun comes up and it's peaceful, and you're allowing yourself that space to let that beautiful, creative, energetic flow come in. Or maybe it's journaling, or maybe it's meditation, or maybe it's just going for a walk in the afternoon. But there's got to be something where you're making space for and time for those beautiful creative thoughts to actually come in, because that's where you're going to get that little seed of an idea around like, hey, like I would quite like to do this thing, or oh, that would be nice. And then as well, like that's where you get you get the ability to ask the questions like, okay, like I'm ready to make this step. Like I do this all the time. Like literally I journal about it all the time when I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready for like that next step. What is it? Like I'm ready for the answers. Like I literally will write, thank you, universe, for giving me the answers around XYZ, whatever it is that I'm expecting. So grateful. And then I just wait. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like, and I will be really, and I've heard this all the time. I'm open and receptive to whatever the universe is bringing my way. Like, I'm so grateful for it. And so I am open and receptive to signs, to things people are saying to me, to Facebook ads that pop up in front of me, to billboards on the side of the road, like little things like that. Like everything that you're looking for, all those answers, they're already here. Like they're already around you, but you've got to be open and receptive to actually receiving them. And then that's where you're like, but again, this comes back to having that time for you, because you've got to get clear on what it is that you're actually manifesting so that those answers can fall into place for you. And then when you get those answers, you better take some action. That's a big thing that I'll add in there. I don't know if you're going to ask this, but like I see it all the time where people are like, you know, like I did my affirmations and I thought about it and I was my towards it and it still hasn't happened. What am I doing wrong? And I'm like, what action did you take? Like, did you take any, like, other than hoping? And it's like, yes, the energy is so important, but the law of attraction gets the spotlight, but law of action is the catalyst. Like, law of action is a fire. You are the fire that helps things to happen. The universe is one half, you're the other. So if you're not doing your part and taking action in the physical world, like you are creating resistance. So just make sure when you get those answers dropping in front of you, you don't just go, oh, cool, thanks for that, and put it in your back pocket. Like, actually take some action.
Totally. I love that. And thank you for adding that in, because I think that action is so important. It's just like people who talk about wanting to get healthy, to overcome their emotional eating, to lose weight, and they talk about it and they think, oh, well, in 6 months from now, once I'm here, then I'll take that vacation, then I'll do X, Y, and Z, but then they don't take the action or they don't have the proper supporting guidance to take a different kind of actions that are actually going to support their greatest good and health and well-being. Because as you mentioned with the self-care routine, you know, slowing down and getting quiet to connect with yourself, I think one of the reasons people go to emotional eating is because they're not making the time for themselves. And you can eat and watch TV and you can eat and multitask, and it's something you can do so quickly to suppress or numb feeling. And something that I experienced when I was struggling with my food addiction was I started to feel my intuition. I started to feel, and it scared the crap out of me. And so then I ate to suppress my intuition, because I was like, I don't want to know everything that's going to happen. Like I can see stuff and feel stuff. And like, I just today don't want to feel it. So then I was like punishing that part of me because I was scared. And then of course you throw in the whole concept of, you know, weight. And I find, you know, when people are caught up in their body image and their weight, like people are so ungrounded. They're so in their heads that ego is in full blown control. So, you know, when women are struggling with both these physical, you know, experiences with their bodies and these emotional, you know, negative limiting beliefs and like, you know, fear of success or fear of being healthy, fear of finally being able to like love themselves or have that perfect body image, like what are, you know, some important kind of almost like words of wisdom or guidance that maybe they can tell themselves when they think about, I really want this, but it brings them to tears or it just scares them so much that they just go, well, yeah, no, maybe like I'll just stay in that comfort zone. But then the cost is the suffering is so big. So are there some simple things that maybe women can start to say to themselves that are encouraging and safe feeling, whether it's weight, emotional eating, abundance, success?
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, like my biggest thing for this is you are being intuitively guided for a reason. Like if it was not meant for you, it would not be showing up. And so honor that, like recognize like your intuition, the universe doesn't show you things and be like, haha, sorry, not for you. Like, it's not teach you. Like it is literally showing you what is possible for you when you decide that that is what you actually are ready for and you're ready to step into it fully. Mm-hmm. And you need to step into it unapologetically and go, I am actually worthy of this. Yeah. Like you are so worthy of it. It's something I drill in all the time, constantly in my podcast. Like you are worthy of whatever it is that you are calling in. Stop thinking that you're not. Like you're worthy of, you know, the better life. You're worthy of the better health. You're worthy of the better relationship. You're worthy of more abundance. Like you are worthy of living your best life. So feel into that and stop. Like, what are you holding yourself back for? Like, why? Like, who does that serve? Does it serve you? No. Does it serve the people around you? No. Does it serve, your family, your friends, your colleagues? No, of course it doesn't. Like, not at all. So why are you holding yourself back? And you're not going to be able to give me an answer. Like, you're not, because there's no reason at all except that place of fear. And it's like, okay, fear can be along for the ride, but it doesn't get to decide where you are going. And that's what we need to realize. Like, it's always going to be that. It's fine. Yeah. But let it just be in the back seat. Like, it's cool. Like, it doesn't have to decide where it is that you are going, and bring it back to, again, what is it that you actually want? What is showing up for you? Trust that it's showing up for a reason, and recognize that you are worthy of it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. I love it. That is amazing. And again, as you had mentioned earlier, if you don't feel it right away and it feels like imposter syndrome, like, keep feeling into it and keep practicing saying it, because it does become real. It does become part of your identity with spending the time dedicating to do the work to feel it, right? Like, it does become real. So I've absolutely been loving our conversation. Is there anything else, any other words of wisdom, or anything else that your intuition wants you to share with the audience today?
Honestly, I feel like we've just covered so many beautiful bases, but like, what I would say, like, just to kind of branch off from basically everything that we've been talking about with that worthiness side of things, is like, just trust that you're listening to this for a reason today. Like, not like everything that I was just talking about with, like, the universe putting the answers in front of you that you're looking for, like, trust that this is probably one of them. Like, you've been looking for these answers. You are listening to this for a reason. It is being delivered to you in divine timing. Everything always happens in divine timing. And please trust that. And again, like, hear it, allow those shifts to sink in. Maybe you're going to want to listen again in a week, maybe in a month, maybe in 6 months, doesn't matter. But trust that you're hearing it when you are meant to, and know that the right shifts are going to come through for you. And I will just branch on that a little bit with I just feel called to keep talking about the divine timing side of things, but this is something that I really, really do always really highlight, is like, trust in divine timing as well. Like, realize, like I said before, everything's happening for you, not to you, and it's all going to happen exactly as it's meant to. So if now maybe you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be, you are exactly where you're supposed to be in divine timing. Your life is happening exactly as it is meant to. Don't compare yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Stay in your own lane. Trust that you're exactly where you're meant to be, even if you're not where you thought you were going to be. Maybe you were 18 and you had a vision for where you were going to be by 30, and that's not where you are. That's fine. You weren't meant to be there. You're meant to be exactly where you are right now, and it's all playing out for a reason. And if you haven't gotten to where you wanted to be, trust that you will get there when you are supposed to, in divine timing, and that maybe there's just a couple of things that you need to go through in order to be the version of you that you need to be, in order to allow that to manifest for you. And trust that you're going to go through that exactly as you're meant to, and it will all play out how it is meant to, because it's all happening for you.
Yeah. And chances are, when you look back on it after it happens, you'll probably be like, I'm so glad it happened that way. Or, yeah, now I see why it was meant to happen that way. Like, thank you.
I promise that's going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
That's
totally. Yes. So no, it's true. Divine timing is key. And I really also agree with you and believe that the universe, brings you what's meant to happen when it's meant to, as you're ready, right? It's like the growth I've done in the last 2 years. I wasn't ready for that 8 years ago, right? No. So it seriously knows. So trust that, as you've been saying.
Totally. I'm the same. Literally, like, the success that I've had in this business, like, if that had happened in the last one, I wouldn't have been ready for that. I don't know what I would have done, but it was meant to happen when it happened. So if we can both be a testament to that, then you listen. Divine timing stuff. The universe is stuff too. Don't worry.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter your age, where you live in the world. Nothing external in that sense matters of what society lets define them, because I've seen women in their 60s, 70s, 80s make these transformations and changes, let alone like 20, 30, 40, 50. So like, don't let age limit you. Like, you can always connect and shift everything. Right.
So, any moment. All you've ever got is the present moment.
Yes.
You've only ever got the now. So stop worrying about what's been, stop worrying about what you think is going to come, and just stay in the present moment, because that is where the magic happens.
It is. It's the party's the present moment. So stay with it. Yeah. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Where can listeners find you online, social media?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've loved this. I knew this was going to be such a good combo. But I would love to connect with your listeners more. They can find me on Instagram at Taylor Rae Peters. It's the same on Facebook as well. And I would love as well, if you want to come and learn more about all this sort of stuff, then I've got a podcast. It's the Strong Babe Collective podcast. Just search Strong Babe Collective on iTunes, Spotify, all of that. You'll be able to find it. So yeah, I would love to connect with you guys more.
All the goodies. Yes, you must make sure you guys go and connect with her. And so perhaps we'll have to have another conversation at some point, because I think there's just so many different things to talk about and we don't want to like spill all the good beans in one podcast. So stay tuned. I think there will be a part 2 to this down the road.
Yeah.
So thank you again. Amazing. Yes. Thank you again for being on the podcast today.
My pleasure, darling. Thank you for having me. I've loved it.
So as always, the show notes for today's episode can be found at amberapproved.ca/podcast/196. A friendly reminder to subscribe to the No Sugarcoating podcast on all podcast apps. You can click the link in the show notes or listen at amberapproved.ca/podcast-archive. So that's podcast-archive. Definitely make sure that you check out Taylor. I will have all of her information in the show notes. You can submit questions to info@amberapproved.ca. Remember that questions I ask be no more than 150 words in length. And be sure to take the emotional eating quiz on my new website. Again, great insightful tool to see if you do struggle with that. And last but not least, you're definitely going to want to check out my new fall group program. So if you are looking to gain your health back after too much summer indulgence with a strong commitment to yourself, if you need energy and motivation to make yourself a priority, and if you notice that you kind of thrive better with accountability and mentorship to help you be accountable with your mindful eating, exercise, and self-care, then you may just want to sign up for my 8-week Jump Into Your Body Freedom program. So it launches early October, and it's a great program that will help you clean up your eating, start your energy, jumpstart your energy levels, eliminate cravings, and start your fall slim down. There's a lot of holidays that come in, fall, and I think it's so important to have a healthier relationship with food in your schedule as you navigate that. And because I'm committed to your success, I'm offering a wonderful fall savings. So for the first 5 people who do sign up, you do receive 50% off of this program as well. So that is an absolutely wonderful deal. So if you are wanting to secure one of the first 5 spots, make sure you email me at info@amberapproved.ca with the subject line Fall Group Program. We will book a 30-minute body freedom call, which is complimentary, to talk more about your health goals where you're seeking support. I will share information with you about the group program, the pricing, and then you can ask your questions and we can see if it's a good fit. So that's info@amberapproved.ca with the subject line Fall Group Program. Have a beautiful day, a great week, and as I always say, there is no better time than the present to take action on your health, so take action now. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, review, and rate this podcast and share it with your friends. You can find me at amberapproved.ca and follow me on Instagram and YouTube at Amber Romaniuk. Join me next Sunday for another brand new episode and another step toward body freedom.